Dr. Maurice Savigny was the director of the art school in Ohio at that time.
Well, a bowl is used to contain things. So if you use a piece of glass art to hold cherries and oranges, then it's a bowl. But if you use it to look at it, to admire it, to understand its artistic qualities, its color, its shape, then the function of this work is aesthetic more than it is practical or pragmatic. So when the function of a work escapes its use and becomes an object to be admired, it is moved to the category of art, aesthetics, and that's what the glass movement tries to do.
But if you have a little bit of water on your hand.
Tom is one of the treasures of Tucson. He's internationally known and respected as a glass artist. He was part of the early movement. He studied in Toledo. Every place I go, every gallery, every museum shop, you see Philabaums. So Philabaum's name really carries weight in this profession.
Discipline was something I slowly learned, and one of my favorite stories is of an artist I met in Mexico City who was an older gentleman who prepared himself every day by showering, shaving, putting on his finest clothes, and then walking into his studio, which was his temple. And that was his life's work, and so it was very important for him to be prepared. My way of doing it is that in the mornings, before I go to work, I go to my church, which is the YMCA, and I swim laps, and I meditate, and I do yoga, and I do exercises, and I clean myself, and I dress myself, and I'm prepared to focus, and I'm prepared to be there for the glass, for my work, for the day.
Glass as an art form presents its own difficulties and peculiarities. It's a very sensual and very attractive medium. It's shiny, it's pretty, it's clear, it's reflective. In some instances, it's hard to get beyond that. It's hard to have content or idea. So I think in some ways it's difficult for artists to move to the next level and make something that's unique and that's their own statement and that maybe goes beyond just that surface and the immediate appeal. And Tom has, especially recently in his work, been really successful at doing that.
Well, he's an experimenter and he doesn't stick with the same thing. He's got a lot of pieces that you do recognize as you go around the country and say, oh, that's a Philabaum. So he has a signature. But he doesn't stick with one signature. He keeps experimenting. And if you know his recent work, which is sand casting glass, very much like the ancient Egyptian work, if you're doing a historical piece and you're looking at the study of glass, he's going back to those roots.
It takes a few days to create a vessel like this. After selecting the color of the piece, Philabaum applies clear glass to the pipette.
First step is to apply the color to the pipe head and then slightly inflate that. The next step is to add a layer of clear glass. And the clear glass actually forms the body of the piece. And you add the glass in concentric layers, and each time that you add a layer, you blow it out more until you get to the shaping stage. The second principle is repetition. You can't make the glass all in one fell swoop at the bench. You have to, every 30 seconds, every couple of minutes, you have to get up, reheat it in the glory hole, which is kept hotter than the furnace itself. Go back to the bench, do the next step, manipulate, repetitiveness over and over. Reheat, back to the bench, reheat, back to the bench, over and over and over. A little more sophisticated in terms of the quality of the material.
One of the many Philabaum signature pieces is this Scavo Technique vase.
Scavo is an Italian term that means unearthed. A piece is completely finished, it's ready to be put away into the oven at the very end, and at that point I dust on lightly a series of these three chemicals that attack and etch into the glass and make it instant antiquity. It makes it look immediately old. And then in the final stage, doing the transfer move, where we actually attach a rod to the bottom of the piece and then break off from the blowpipe, and then we heat the other end. So it's all a matter of transferring heat from one end to the other.
Another lengthy process awaits the vessel.
This box, this heating box, is where the molecules are slowly controlled till they bond and knit and the piece becomes one. If you miss the steps of annealing, which is basically to cool it down from 1400 degrees to room temperature in a very slow manner, taking all the stress out of the molecules. If you miss those steps, the glass will just explode, break, or crack. So there's a lot more of knowledge that goes into the glass making than just how to make the glass.
Glass making is not for the faint of heart. Hours of work can be ruined in a split second.
The piece made it all the way through to the end, and it ended up with a beautiful shape. The problem really is that somewhere along the line we missed a reheat, and it set up some kind of stress. But where the central image is in the middle, it looks sort of like a G clef on the side. Somewhere in there, there's an instability between the two glasses, and it checked. It's got a little crack in it. We sealed it. The crack is sealed in, but the piece is now no longer a first. It's no longer an ace.
What's in vogue today, in today's contemporary glass art scene, is Italian styles of glassmaking, using latticino cane, reticello, where lines are crossed and little bubbles appear, and where handles are perfect and there's perfect symmetry and balance and form. And to me, that has its place. But to me, that's a little fussy. To me, it's inches and centimeters. It's begging the question. To me, glass is a material which I use to express myself. And I enjoy that kind of use of glass where it's a statement, it's a feeling. There's a soul inside the vessel or the form or the sculpture or whatever it is. It's good to have the form be a little off. That's how it develops its own personality, its own sense of self. I try and impart that to my work. I think it's really important for each piece they may appear to be the same, but they're nowhere the same if you put them up to each other. Mold-blown things are maybe perfect, but I think that the glass should have the hand of the maker on it.
Inside these colorful creations, there's a world of sweat and vision.
It's not easy. It's very expensive. That furnace is blasting fuel at a tremendous rate. So it's very expensive to have a glass program, to even have glass classes. So the material is expensive, the maintenance of the studio is expensive, and it's hard work. You know, you're in front of a furnace and you're bending over with a long pipe and 25 pounds of glass at the tip of it. So a lot of people, including Tom, have back injuries as a result. So it's very hard work. You need teams of people to help support that.
No, that's great, Steve. Let's want to shape it and do one more neck.
I mean, I don't know anybody that works harder than Tom does.
Okay, can I have another caliper, please?
This is one of the great pictures from the early civil rights work